The air in the bank was thick with tension, a suffocating silence that seemed to press against the walls as every eye turned to Maria, a woman with Down syndrome whose trembling hands clutched a crumpled deposit slip. Her wide, trusting eyes glistened with unshed tears as the bank teller, a stern woman with a pinched expression, leaned forward and sneered, "I'm sorry, but we can't help you today. Maybe you should have someone more capable handle this." The words sliced through the room like a blade, and a ripple of gasps and awkward coughs followed. Maria's cheeks flushed red, her shoulders hunching as she whispered, "But I just want to deposit my paycheck, I've been saving." The teller rolled her eyes, muttering something about inconveniences, while the other staff members averted their gazes, frozen in a mix of discomfort and indifference. It was a scene that could break a heart, or ignite a fire in someone brave enough to step in. Maria wasn't alone, though. Beside her stood her older brother, Carlos, a quiet man in his late 30s with calloused hands from years of manual labor. He had brought her to the bank that morning, proud of her first job at a local bakery where she'd been beaming with pride over her modest earnings. Carlos's jaw tightened as he watched the humiliation unfold, his protective instincts warring with his usual reluctance to cause a scene. "She's got every right to be here," he said, his voice low but firm, stepping closer to Maria. The teller scoffed, "Sir, this is a private institution. We can refuse service if we deem it necessary." The words hung heavy, and Maria's lip quivered as she looked up at Carlos, her voice barely audible, Am I not good enough?" That question pierced Carlos deeper than any insult, and he felt a surge of anger mixed with helplessness. He wanted to fight for her, but he didn't know how, not against a system that seemed stacked against them. The situation escalated when another customer, a middle-aged man in a suit, chimed in with a snide remark, "Maybe she should stick to simpler tasks." The room grew colder, the staff's silence now a complicit wall. Maria's eyes dropped to the floor, her hands twisting the deposit slip into a tighter ball. Carlos was about to lose his temper when the glass doors of the bank swung open with a dramatic thud, and a tall figure strode in, his presence commanding instant attention. It was John Kennedy, not the historical figure, but a local legend known for his unwavering advocacy for the marginalized. With his silver hair and piercing blue eyes, he carried an air of authority softened by a warm smile. The staff froze, their earlier bravado evaporating as whispers of his name circulated. John had a reputation for turning the tide in moments of injustice, and his arrival felt like a storm breaking over the horizon. John approached the counter with a steady gait, his gaze locking onto the teller. "What seems to be the problem here?" he asked, his voice calm but laced with steel. The teller stammered, It's just a misunderstanding, sir. This customer was causing a delay." John's eyes narrowed as he glanced at Maria, then at Carlos, reading the situation in an instant. "A delay," he repeated, his tone incredulous. "Or are you denying a hard-working woman her right to manage her own money because of her disability?" The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. He turned to Maria, kneeling slightly to meet her gaze. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked gently. "Maria," she replied, her voice small but gaining strength under his kindness. "Well, Maria, I think you deserve to be treated with respect. Let's get this sorted out together." The bank manager, a wiry man who had been lurking in the background, hurried forward, his face pale. "Mr. Kennedy, I assure you, this is a mistake. We'll handle it immediately." But John wasn't done. He addressed the staff and the onlookers, his voice rising with passion. "This isn't just about one transaction. It's about dignity. Every person in this room deserves to be seen, not judged. Maria's courage to stand here today should inspire us all." His words struck a chord, and for the first time, the staff's expressions shifted, some with guilt, others with newfound respect. The manager nodded vigorously, ushering Maria and Carlos to a private office where her deposit was processed with apologies and a promise of better training for the staff. But the story didn't end there. John took Maria and Carlos under his wing, inviting them to a community meeting later that week where he was speaking about inclusion. Maria, emboldened by the day's events, agreed to share her story. At the meeting, held in a packed community hall, she stood nervously at the podium, her hands still clutching that now smooth deposit slip. "I was scared today," she began, her voice trembling but clear. "But John showed me I'm strong. I want everyone to know we all belong." The crowd erupted in applause, tears glistening in many eyes, including Carlos's. John beamed with pride, knowing he'd helped ignite a spark in her. The challenges weren't over, though. The bank incident sparked local outrage, with news outlets picking up the story. Protests formed outside the branch, demanding accountability. Carlos, once hesitant, became Maria's fiercest advocate, organizing with John to push for policy changes. They faced pushback. Some bank officials resisted, claiming it was bad for business to cater to special cases. But Maria's determination grew, and with John's guidance, they rallied support from disability rights groups. Months passed, filled with meetings, petitions, and late nights, but their efforts paid off. The bank agreed to a comprehensive inclusivity training program, and Maria was invited to speak at the launch event, her confidence now unshakable. By the end, Maria had transformed from a humiliated woman into a symbol of resilience. Carlos found a new purpose, no longer just a protector but a leader. John, watching from the sidelines at the event, felt a quiet satisfaction. As Maria addressed the audience, her voice steady, she said, "I learned that we all have value. No one should feel small because they're different. Let's lift each other up." The room stood, a standing ovation echoing her words. The message was clear. Courage, community, and compassion could turn humiliation into empowerment. For anyone watching, it was a reminder that one act of kindness, one voice raised in justice, could change lives, and maybe the world.